Yeah, welcome to the Weege Show. I mentioned in our pre-show yesterday how like everything that could go wrong technically has gone wrong. So my GoPro flash drive, the camera's good, flash drive is gone. So we're gonna do it different. I've got my man Mason Rader following me, and we're gonna see how carefully and smoothly he can negotiate this track. And that really turned out to be the key because, look, I know that Racer X, who pays me, also in a roundabout way runs the race here at Loretta Lynn's. And I know that everyone was saying, is this really gonna work for a pro race? This is a track that is really designed for mini cycles and amateurs, and there's no way factory 450s are gonna race well here, and it'll probably be one line because it's flat and it's small and it's tight. Look, man, I've watched 100 motos a year at this track for 19 years, so let's do some easy math. I've watched 1,900 motos at this track. This is not, I'm being paid hyperbole. By the way, no one's on this track anymore, so I can do this. This track races better than any motocross track I've ever seen. It's not the hills, it's not the jumps, it's just the fact that it gets so darn deep and rutted. You're always gonna get some rain, which is gonna throw an additional curveball. You cannot get fully comfortable on this racetrack, and it led to amazing racing. If you watch the first 450 moto today, I challenge you to find another motocross race that was less start dependent. Guys that had bad starts went to the front, guys that had good starts went to the back. The track was very raceable, very passable, and if there were any doubts if this could work for a pro race, they solved that problem, and it's a darn good thing they did because we're racing here again next weekend. So let's break it down here in the Weege Show, brought to you by Honda. Brought to you by Honda, big time sponsor. So here's the key. The track crew worked so hard to try to make this perfect. Little changes that you really couldn't even see. Widening some corners, widening some sections, extending some straightaways. They were really pumped on the kind of bumps that they left from last week to let develop, and then it rained yesterday, and now we have this. Pan that way, Mason, look at this. They took all that hard work. There's Jeff Russell. Yeah, exactly, it's a 50 track. Let's go this way. So there's Jeff Russell. All of his handiwork ended up right here in a big pile of mud, and I was seriously worried. I'm like, we're gonna get one shot at making this work as a pro race, and it got blown because of the rain. At that point, I didn't know that we were not gonna race, or we were gonna come back and race here again. So Jeff Russell and the crew somehow managed to salvage it from unbelievable rain and mud and still turn it into a good racetrack. And that leaves us with a ton of storylines. I think at the 450 class, you start with this. We were thinking that Eli Tomac, already 3 titles under his belt, and now with that Supercross monkey off his back, forget about it, right? He's gonna be invincible. Well, he was at least a mere mortal today. It was one of those bad Eli motos where he generally finishes exactly 7th every time that happens. I think he pumped up, and that opened the door for Jason Anderson, who no one was thinking about, to wallop it. JR,
Jason,
you had to be worried. I know this was gonna be great and it was gonna be awesome, and you had a plan to show the world this could race pro bikes, but you had to be worried with all that mud.
absolutely.
So but it came around. When did you start to know, like, I think we've got it?
Well, the racetrack's wide. It's always wide.
It is wide.
And, you know, it's got this misconception. It's a amateur track,
right?
Track, whatever
yeah.
you call it, but it's a good racetrack.
Okay, so when did it dry out enough to be like, okay, we're gonna be on it? Did you know that all day, or were you worried?
We were worried, yeah.
Yeah.
It got a lot more rain and it soaked it up a lot. And,
yeah.
You know, we pushed a lot of good material in piles today.
Yeah, I know. You get one more shot at it, like it or not.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
How long have you been here? When did you get here?
Over a month ago.
Okay, month and a half. How about this? We'll go check out the end of this straightaway, okay, and you will see how difficult this track is. Not just a 50 track?
Just a 50 track.
Just a 50 track.
Just a 50 track.
Did you see the top 10 in the fourth?
It was a good racetrack. Was it a good race today?
I said, I have never seen a moto more or less start dependent. That first 450 moto, it didn't matter where you started. Guys were coming from the back to the front. Guys are going to the front to the back. I'd say that's a sign of a good track.
Thank you. Thank Randy Polker too. We got up at 5 a.m. and started pushing mud.
Pushing mud at 5 a.m.
Just to get it down to where they could race it.
I was hoping Randy was on board because I know he's got some little tricks, and they usually do work.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to show you some of the work down here. So Tomac ends up being mortal. The typical off moto for Tomac ends up in 7th. That's exactly where he was. He was a lot better in Moto 2. He said at the end of the day that they tried some experiments. Moto 1 didn't work. They went back to what they know, and Moto 2 is a lot better, but he could not get Zach Osborne. Now, Anderson struggled a bit down the stretch in Moto 2 because this track is gnarly, bros. And Zach Osborne was going to win the overall, even if he got a 2-2 once Anderson went back. But you know that Tomac wants to beat Osborne to just show him I'm still the guy, and you know that Osborne wants to beat Tomac to show I'm going to be a thorn in your side. So that was a real battle of wills down the stretch in that second moto, even if it didn't affect the overall. And Osborne held on to me. That's a pretty big deal. And there are about 7 other guys in the 450 class, including Anderson, who can say, man, I rode good today. Today could have been my day, including Chase Sexton, who was lightning on his first 450 race ever. Cian Cirillo, who led Moto 2 before he crashed, but he was in the lead, so he has reason to think I'll be okay and I'll be good. Justin Barcia was coming from the back to the front all day, a good ride for Baggett. Marvin Musquin looked a lot like he used to, even having a year off, so that's phenomenal. So this is what I'm talking about. I know it's flat and it's just a straightaway and a turn. But good luck, pan that way. Pick a line, pick your line, everybody. Tell me what the good line is in that corner. And this is actually phenomenally wide for a motocross track. So it worked, and that's good news because we'll be back here next week and we'll do more Weege shows brought to you by the folks at Honda. There is one asterisk on the we had great racing today, and that is that while Eli Tomac proved he is a mortal, Dylan Ferrandis believed the hype. Let's see, he had good starts, which is usually his weakness, so that might not be a problem this year. Last year he started outdoors a little slow because of the emotion of Supercross. Now he's been there, done that with another Supercross title, and he had many weeks to get over that and focus on this. He was actually even better than advertised, as I would believe the championship favorite coming into this season. So that's a little scary, but Jeremy Martin is strapped in for what should be a long, grueling summer of 9 races to try to wear down the Frenchman. And we're waiting to see if any of those kids can catch fire. And I want to throw a shout out to Mason Gonzalez. We were all wondering if any of the kids that actually raced Loretta's last week could do something on a track that's familiar to them. You probably never heard of Mason Gonzalez. Really fun kid to talk to. He says he likes my videos. He's probably watching this right now. So that's all it takes for me to like you as a rider. You just say you like the Weege Show. And he did a great job. Mason's going to crash here with the camera trying to walk through these ruts. He did it. He got top 10 overall. So one of the stars from last week showed up and did well here. And we're going to be back to do it again. So sorry about the one and done we were saying about Loretta's. It is now going to be hashtag 2 and done. We hope. Let's try to save the unpredictable part of racing for what we see on the track as opposed to what tracks we go to. Thanks for Honda for back in the Weege Show. I will get myself a new flash drive and we'll go back to the old school Weege Show last week. But shout out to the riders for negotiating this track and my man Mason for somehow walking through all this, not being able to look down and not crashing like several other riders did here.